Okay. So anyway, second concept I want to talk about is HDR, which is also a multiple exposure thing that we're going to put together in Photoshop. But the difference with the HDR is what it does is we're going to take multiple exposures of a thing at different exposures and then put them together, because your camera can only handle 10 stops, and that's really at the outside. It's probably more like 6 or 7. So what that means is if I'm off of center by more than 5 or 6 stops, I'm going to end up with something wildly overexposed or underexposed that can't be kind of reconciled there. So when you look at a scene like I'm looking at here, let me do this so you can see what I'm looking at. Right, I've got these trees that are creating this dark area underneath, but I also have a fairly bright sky, and some of the grass in the foreground here is fairly bright. So that's more than my camera can handle. Either if I expose for the grass is going to look great, but those shadows are going to just be black, or I'm going to expose for the sky, and again my shadows are going to be black, or if I expose for the shadows so that I can get detail in those leaves and kind of that dark area, what I'm going to end up with is the sky being way too bright. And I want to be able to retain that blue in the sky and maybe even enhance it a little bit. And I also want to be able to see deep into these shadows. So what I'm going to do is make probably about 5 exposures, starting with one that's 4 or 5 stops underexposed, then one that's about 2 stops underexposed, one that's exactly what my camera is going to tell me, and then one that's 2 stops over, and one that's 4 stops over. So, and I also, again, it's a lot easier if you have it on a tripod, but again, you guys are doing it without, so I will also, so the f4 at 800th of a second is what it's telling me for my exposure. Again, same thing I was at, so I'm going to go to 200, which is 2 stops underexposed. All right, I'm going to frame it up carefully as I can. And what I want to do, you still hear me? All right, so, shoot one at 200, and then without even moving, I'm bumping up to 400, which is 1 stop. Then I'm bumping up to 8, just 2 stops, and it gets me right to where I want to be. And then I'm going to 1600 and 3200th of a second. And so now I've made 5, right? I started at 200, went to 400, went to 800, which is where my meter told me to be. Then I went to 1600, which is double that, and to 3200, which is double that again. So I've gotten, it should be that that slower exposure stuff is going to look great for the leaves and so on, and then the slower things is going to be where my sky is nice and rich and dark. So then when I put them into Photoshop, it's going to combine, and it's going to use the best parts of each picture and combine it all into one picture. So go do that.